You made it here. That already means something. Hi, I'm Kelly, overly educated, highly opinionated, queer eldest daughter professionally. And this is Encomium, a tribute to you, a podcast for women who are done doing this shit alone. Twice a month we gather here to do the body-based, nervous system forward, politically honest, spiritually grounded work of coming back home to yourself. Whatever brought you here today, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Take a breath with me. Before we go anywhere in this episode, before we talk about anything that exists outside of you or beyond you or above you, I want to start here in your body. Feel the weight of yourself right now, the heaviness of your legs, the places where your body is making contact with whatever is holding it, the particular gravity of being a physical creature in a physical world. On your inhale, feel that weight. Don't try to lighten it or lift out of it, just feel it. The full, grounded, earthbound reality of having a body. And on your exhale, let the weight settle down through your legs, down through whatever is beneath you, into the ground. One more breath. Inhale here in this body, on this earth. Exhale, rooted. I want you to start there in the body, in the ground, because that's where we're going to end up too. And when we talk about spirituality, everything in between is about what it means to reach towards something spiritual without leaving yourself behind in the process. That is today's episode. So let's begin. I want to start with something that might feel a little uncomfortable. And if you're watching or listening to this podcast, there's a reasonable chance that you grew up in some version of organized religion or a culture with a dominant organized religion and you left, or you're in the process of leaving, or you've been gone for years and you're still finding the residue of it living in your body in ways that you didn't expect. The guilt, the self-sacrifice, the deep-seated belief that your suffering is somehow noble, that being good means being small, that wanting things for yourself is selfish, that your body and its desires are suspect at best and dangerous at worst. And then at some point, maybe you found the woo, or the woo found you. Maybe it was astrology that felt like a language for things you'd always known. Maybe it was tarot that gave you permission to trust your own intuition for the first time. Maybe it was crystals or human design or gene keys, or even something that seems more cerebral like Myers-Briggs, or some combination of practices that added up to something that felt more true than anything the church had offered you. And some of it was genuinely nourishing, and some of it was the church with crystals. And I want to sit with that phrase for a moment because I think it names something real that a lot of us have experienced but haven't quite had language for. The church with crystals is any spiritual space that claims to honor your autonomy while systematically undermining your ability to trust your own knowing. It replaces one set of unquestionable dogmas with another, just dressed in different language. Everything happens for a reason becomes this is your karma, becomes you manifested this. The mechanism is different, but the effect is the same. Your suffering is your fault, and the solution is to believe harder. It uses the language of healing to create dependence on the person at the center. The guru who says you are the expert in your own experience while making herself indispensable to your ability to interpret that experience. It asks you to leave your critical thinking at the door because questioning is resistance, and resistance is just your ego protecting itself. And your ego, well, that's the enemy of your growth. It bypasses the actual difficult work of feeling your feelings, examining your patterns, and changing your behavior with the more comfortable work of raising your vibration, clearing your energy, and manifesting a better reality. And if you've been in any of those spaces, and most of us who have done any amount of spiritual seeking or personal development have been in at least one of them, your skepticism is earned. Your wariness is appropriate. And the fact that you're still here, still looking for something that feels true, still willing to try, that's not naivety. It's resilience. And here's what I believe about spirituality for whatever it's worth to you, which may be nothing, and that's fine. But what I believe about spirituality is that it's not a set of beliefs you hold, it's a quality of attention you practice. The most spiritually alive moments in most people's lives don't happen inside a religious building or a wellness retreat or a carefully curated sacred space. They happen in ordinary moments, watching the light move through water, sitting with someone who's dying, holding a child, standing in a forest long enough to remember that you are not the center of everything. Those moments don't require belief, they require presence. Spirituality, genuine spirituality, the kind that actually changes you rather than just making you feel temporarily elevated, is the practice of paying attention to what's actually here, of being porous enough to let the world in, of recognizing that you are both an individual self and something much larger than that self, and that both of those things are true at the same time. It is not an escape from the body, it moves through the body. It is not an escape from difficulty. It is the capacity to be with difficulty without being destroyed by it. It is not a substitute for the work of examining your patterns, taking responsibility for impact, and changing your behavior. And in fact, genuine spiritual practice tends to make that work harder, not easier, because it makes it more difficult to hide from yourself. And if you've been through a religious deconstruction, and that word covers a lot of territory, from leaving evangelical Christianity to walking away from the wellness cult that took your money and told you your trauma was a vibrational problem, you know that it doesn't leave you with nothing. It leaves you with questions. And questions, it turns out, are a lot more spiritually nourishing than answers. The question, what do I actually believe, is more alive than any doctrine. The question, what is this experience I'm having in my body right now, is more honest than any cosmology. The question, what am I reaching toward when I light a candle or pull a card or look at the full moon and feel something move in my chest? That question is worth following, not because the answer is fixed, but because the following is the practice. And I want to talk about ritual specifically because I think it's one of the most misunderstood and most genuinely useful spiritual tools available. Ritual does not require belief. This is the thing that makes ritual different from religion. Religion tends to require belief. You have to assent to a set of propositions about the nature of reality in order to participate fully. Ritual just requires showing up and doing the thing. You light the candle, you say the words, you mark the moment. You don't have to believe that the candle is doing anything cosmically significant. You just have to be willing to treat the moment as significant, to slow down, to be present, to say, this matters. And I'm going to act like it matters. That act of treating something as sacred is itself the sacred thing. And I've said before that I claim the title of atheist witch. It's all over my social media. And I want to unpack that a little because I think it describes something that a lot of people are living without having language for. Atheist, in the sense that I don't believe in a personal God who is paying attention to my individual choices and rewarding or punishing accordingly, or testing me. I don't believe the universe is organized around my well-being or anyone else's individual well-being, which, in the sense that I believe in the power of intention, symbol, and ritual to create meaning, mark time, and shift internal states. I believe that the moon matters, not because it is literally controlling my emotions, but because tracking my relationship to the lunar cycle helps me track my relationship to myself and has shifted my relationship to time to something that feels more real and grounded to me than the patriarchal Gregorian calendar with a capitalist lens. I believe that ritual works not because it is magical in a supernatural sense, but because the body responds to symbolic action in ways that pure cognition doesn't access. And that's not a contradiction. It's a both and. And it doesn't mean that I believe in nothing. I believe in us. I believe that we don't have to transcend humanity in order to experience the collective effervescence that religion promises after death. And I don't care what you believe or don't believe. I don't need you to agree with me, and I don't judge you for any lack of agreement. I use astrology throughout this podcast and throughout the spiral path, and I want to be clear about how I'm using it because I think clarity here matters. I'm not using it as a fixed system of prediction. I don't believe that being a Scorpio determines your personality or that Mercury retrograde causes your computer to break. Although, as a Virgo rising born under a Mercury retrograde, I do experience that regularly. I know That could be cognitive bias at play. I know, it's a contradiction. Meh. Bitch contains multitudes. Here we are. I use astrology as a lens, a language, a way of organizing time and meaning that gives me something to orient around. So when I say the North Node is shifting into Aquarius and asking us to move toward community, I'm not making a factual claim about what the cosmos is requiring of you. I'm offering a frame that might help you locate yourself in a larger story. If the frame is useful, use it. If it isn't, leave it. I don't care. That is the relationship I'd invite you to have with all of it. Not belief, not dismissal, but curious engagement. What does this offer me? What does it help me see? What does it help me feel? Reclaiming your spirituality means reclaiming the right to a direct relationship with whatever you find sacred, without a mediator, without a guru, without someone else's doctrine determining whether your experience is valid. It means trusting your own knowing, not uncritically. Critical thinking is part of this, not the enemy of it, but trusting that the thing you felt when you stood in the forest or held your dying parent or looked at your child's face, that was real. That was information that deserves to be taken seriously. It means building a practice that is yours, not borrowed wholesale from someone else's tradition, not performed for an audience, not designed to make you look spiritual or feel superior. A practice that actually meets you where you are and helps you be more present, more honest, more able to love what's in front of you. It means being allowed to not know, allowed to hold questions without needing them resolved, allowed to say, I don't know what I believe, and I'm still going to light this candle and mark this moon and show up to this practice and have that be enough. Because it is enough. The reaching itself is the spiritual life. Everything in this episode, the deconstruction, the reclaiming, the ritual as practice, goes significantly deeper in the Sacred Systems course bundle that I'm offering this fall. The spirituality module in Sacred Systems spends 6 weeks in this territory, moving through your specific spiritual history, the beliefs you inherited and the ones you've chosen, and what it looks like to build a practice that is genuinely yours rather than borrowed or performed. It's available inside the Spiral Path, and you can find it at kellylynnjewell.com/sacred systems. Now, before I let you go, this week's prompt. What are you reaching toward when you engage in any practice you'd call spiritual, whether it's lighting a candle or pulling a card or looking at the moon or sitting in silence? What is the thing you're actually reaching for? Don't answer this question with what you think you should be reaching for, but what you're actually reaching for. Notice if the answer surprises you. Notice if it's something simpler than you'd expect or something more vulnerable. I want to hear what comes up here. DM me on Instagram or TikTok and tell me what that question surfaced. And if you're inside the Spiral Path, bring it to the community this week. That question is worth sitting with in the company of other people who are also figuring out what they believe. Take one final breath with me. Inhale and feel the weight of yourself, the earthbound reality of having a body. Exhale, and whatever you're reaching toward, let yourself reach.
Thank you for being here. If this episode landed somewhere, share it with the woman you thought of while you were listening. She needs it too. You can find me at kellylynnjewell.com and on Instagram and TikTok at kelly.lynn.jewell. The show notes have everything else. I'm Kelly. This is Encomium, a tribute to you. Wherever you're listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're doing this together.